Good morning. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that applies to property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All virtual participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelists when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use share screen or any other panelist controls during a video appearance. The host will remove you from the panelist role if you fail to respect this instruction. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address because the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal, OLT. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons, and public bodies, as those terms are defined in the Planning Act, are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. With respect to hearing procedure, I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5 minutes. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee on the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to the proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we first call on speakers in the hearing room and then those participating through WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. All right, so just to start, Mr. Secretary Treasurer, do we have any minutes from previous meetings?
Through you, Madam Chair, we do not.
All right. And do we have any conflict from members on the committee or staff for this morning? No? All right. I think we can proceed. Are there any deferral requests?
Through you, Madam Chair, we have 2 this morning. Why don't we start with item number 1,
Okay.
100 Alfred Avenue.
Thank you. So 100 Alfred Avenue is consent to sever into 2 residential lots. On file, we have a survey, draft R plan, plans, cover letter, arborist report, urban forestry conditions, engineering and construction services report, heritage comments, TRCA comments, 3 letters of opposition, and a late community planning report. Do we have the applicant with us?
Hello, members of the committee. Good morning. My name is Paul Ferrara. I am the planner on this project and representing the owner of 100 Alfred Avenue.
Mr. Ferrara? We can't hear
Yes,
you.
Ferrara.
Oh,
Oh, can you hear me?
we can hear you now. Could you please state your name and address?
Oh, Paul Ferrara, and I'm representing 100 Alfred Avenue,
And your address?
25 Valleywood Drive,
Thank
Markham, Ontario.
Thank you. And would you like to explain the reason for the deferral request?
Yes, so we have made change to one of the variances, and at this time, we are requesting more time to update the drawings.
Okay. Do committee members have any questions of the applicant? All right. We have a few people listed to speak in this regard, or on this application. Is anyone in the audience here for this item? Thank you. If you could come forward to the podium, make sure the mic is on. So this is a request for a deferral, so we don't need comments on the actual consent. It's just whether you have any issues with it being deferred to another meeting.
Oh. Deferred to when?
We don't know that for sure.
How long would that take?
The mic is on now, so should we say our names first?
Sure.
Okay, Maiko and Rob Borelli. We live at 98 Alfred Avenue. So, can you explain? Sorry.
So the applicant has requested a deferral because they want to review the variances and possibly make some changes to the application. It would be re-notified at a later date. We don't know for sure when it would be. It could be a month, it could be a couple of months. It depends on the applicant.
Oh, okay, so we're just speaking to that then.
Just the deferral for now.
And they can't give details right now according, what they're deferring? or
It
what they're
sounds like
changing?
they don't have that information yet.
Okay, so I guess we agree with the deferral? Is that what?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Yes, you are. Thank you. Unless anyone has any questions, no? All right, and there's another person listed to speak, so yes. Do we have the other person online?
Madam Chair, we've attempted to reach out to Brenda Watts, but we were not successful. Also, the number that they provided is not shown within the participant list.
Okay. All right, so I guess we are not going to hear from that other person because they don't seem to be reachable. I only have yourselves and Brenda Watts listed for speakers. There's no one else, staff? Not yet. We haven't voted. Just wait one sec. All right, seeing as there is no one else to speak to this item, we can take this into committee. go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair. So I would like to put for, unless my colleagues have issues, I would like to put for a motion to approve the request from the applicants give them more time to make necessary changes to the application, and so we defer this matter.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All those in favor? All right, that's unanimous, carried.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, we have one more deferral this morning. It's item number 4, 33 Suncrest.
All right, so this is an application, excuse me, for a new dwelling with quite a number of variances. Do we have the applicant?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Ida Evangelista,
Good morning. Address, please?
53 Bentworth Avenue, Toronto.
Thank you. So you can go ahead and give us the reason for the deferral request?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members. Ida Evangelista on behalf of the owners of 33 Suncrest. It's come to our attention late in the process that planning has concerns with the coverage. And also I'm dealing with speaking to the ratepayers group, and we're trying to come up with some common ground. So we're asking for a deferral to allow us additional time to modify the application. Although I would like to state that the coverage is mainly contributed to basement area. But I would like to have the opportunity to revise the application.
All right, thank you. Anybody have questions on committee? No. And is there anybody here in the audience to speak to this item? No? Okay, that being, we can take it into committee then?
Through you, Madam Chair, if there's nobody else, no other comment, I'd be happy to bring a motion to defer the subject application to allow the applicant more time to work with some of the comments that were brought up by community planning.
I second that motion.
Thank you. All those in favor? That's unanimous, carried. Thank you. That concludes the deferral request, Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer.
Madam Chair, that's correct. We can proceed to item number 2.
Thank you. All right, item number 2. No. All right, this is 1450 Don Mills Road, consent to sever application into 2 to allow for additional development on part of the land. I don't think we have nobody here speaking to this item other than the applicant. And if we could have the applicant, please.
Hello, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Maristea. My address is 62 Argyle Street, Toronto.
Thank you. Excuse me. I don't think we need a presentation on this item unless there's something that you want to point out to committee. Otherwise, we can just go into committee to make a decision on it.
No, don't think it's necessary. There were no concerns.
And
we're
you're
accepting of the
aware
petition.
of the conditions, the standard consent application, or sorry, consent conditions?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, let's take this into committee, members. And does anybody have any comments or make a motion?
Madam Chair, if there's no comments, I'm happy to bring a motion. It's a pretty, I think it's a pretty obvious application for consent, given what the the new parcel currently supports and what it would support through a consent. I do see there were advisory comments noted in the development engineering memo, but it said that the parking justification study is sufficient. So, given that, happy to bring a motion to approve the subject application with the advisory comments that are left that you noted, as well as a condition of urban forestry number 1.
Thank you. Seconder. Mr. Kupu?
Yes, Madam Chair, I second.
Thank you. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Item number 3, 75 Castlefield Avenue.
Glenn Rubinoff from Rubinoff Design Group.
Sorry, I'm just... Sorry, just having trouble accessing my notes. This is an application for a new detached dwelling with an integral garage. We have variances for west side yard setback, maximum height, building depth, floor space index, platform encroachment into front yard, canopy over a platform setback, and building length. On file, we have a previous decision from October 2024, survey, plans, arborist report, email from community planning, supporting material, 10 letters of support, 2 letters of objection, and a late table of proposed variances from the applicant. Do we have the applicant with us?
Yes, good morning. It's Glenn Rubinoff. I'm the agent for the owner.
And your address, Mr. Rubinoff?
2 St. Clair Avenue West, Suite 1836, Toronto.
Thank you. So we do have some speakers on this, so if you could proceed with a brief presentation.
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. We are back with a new application for this address. My clients were here before, and we carefully reviewed your comments from the last meeting and agreed to make changes more in keeping with the area. They agreed to a shorter house, a narrower house, and they brought the height down as well. Last time were related to the concerns expressed last time were related to the impact on the immediate neighbor to the east and the proposed or on the existing right of way. That setback has since been increased to 1.2 meters from 0.9. I'll go through each of the variances, but I just wanted to give you a bit of a summary. So that setback has been increased to 1.2 meters, narrowing the house, and is outside of the existing right-of-way. Previously, we had an encroachment into the right-of-way, and we had a variance request for the neighbor to have a front yard pad. The building length has also been shortened by a couple of feet. And finally, the height has been eliminated for overall height has been eliminated to comply. But what we're left with is a reduced wall height. We note that the forestry department, we made some adjustments to the driveway, and now forestry has provided a letter that they are supportive of the application. City planning sent us an email that they had no concerns with the file as well. We have provided some photos of other flat roof buildings on the street, and note that there are also some other decisions in the area with regards to height. With 151 St. Clements, which is not too far. It's a next street over But it's within the radius of this site, similar zoning, and they were granted a 10.4 meter height for both wall height and overall height. While we understand that there are some neighbors' concerns about a new house on the street, we have made significant efforts to modify our plans to fit into the context of this neighborhood and feel it is compatible development. What I wanted to do was just to quickly go over the updated list of variances you have is correct. I just wanted to show you from the previous application, we had eliminated the overall building height. So now variance 1 remains the same as previously, and was 0.61.
Sorry, could you just hold it for 1 sec? Staff, could we have that revised table of variances up on the screen?
So that's the updated, well, I mean, that's the updated, that's from the previous, that's the previous public hearing notice. We did send in a chart comparison.
It was in the late submissions.
Yeah, it should be. What I can just go through and tell you is what changed for each variance. For variance number 1, there was no change. For variance number 2, the height went from the wall height, exterior wall height, went from 10.10 to 9.7 meters. Variance number 3 went from 18.29 meters to 17.63 meters, reduced by 66 centimeters. Variance number 4 went from the numbers on here that you're looking at. Variance number 1 on the chart is not related. The numbers don't match up to the new notice because this was based on the previous one. So I'm just going by the updated notice, what you have. So variance number 4, floor space index, was also reduced as a result of shortening the home and narrowing the home to 0.99 times the density of the lot. That includes the basement, to be clear. The actual density in the house is 69.9% above grade. So that includes the basement. Variance number 5 is related to the front porch encroachment. No change to that. No change to variance number 6. And variance number 7, building length, has been reduced also to 17.63 from previously 18.29. That was reduced by 0.66 meters. So those are the changes that were made based on our previous meeting and our discussions about impact. And we feel that narrowing the house, shortening the length of the house, and reducing the height, and also just my client also did speak with more neighbors and did get some additional letters submitted on that front as well. But there are also, comparable styles of this home, of our flat roof homes in the area. But overall height is compliant now. It's really just the wall height, which is what we're coming with. So I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I had a few questions before I turn it over to committee members. One is the canopy in the front yard? Is that a front yard encroachment?
Yes.
It doesn't say on the notice, and I couldn't tell from the plans.
Yes, it's just over the front porch. Yes.
Okay. And I guess I'd like an explanation on why the side wall main height, I always mix that up, is still quite high relative to the bylaw.
Well, okay, so this is a flat roof house, the style of the house, which we've provided a number of photos as well to the committee, which illustrate that there are several in the street and in the neighborhood which are a similar height. It's just, sloped roof homes have lower eaves. When you deal with something that is a flat roof, you're dealing with the internal heights of the building just to the practical elements of being able to, you know, meet the design of the home. But it's not outside the keeping of what a flat roof home would have in the area.
Okay, I'll leave it there for now. Committee members, Mr. Allison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to follow up to your last question, question for the applicant. I did review some of the examples that were given in the area with higher side main wall heights, and in looking at them, I did notice that in most cases, that side main wall height is only for a portion of the building. So, you know, where they may not facilitate that side main wall height isn't carried through across 100% the extent of the side main walls, and also it doesn't facilitate that height on a front main wall or a rear main wall. In this case, that side main wall is 360 degrees all around the building. So is a question for the applicant, are there examples out of the list, some that you gave, are there any examples where those side main walls heights that were given facilitate 100% of the building at that height?
Well, they didn't, the approvals that we have on file don't provide for a restricted, like, you know, percentage of the wall. They are just strictly approved at the full wall height that, and some of the photos provided, 273 Briar Hill, 202 Albertus, you know, 160 Albertus. There's, you know, the ones on, you know, 86, 88 Castlefield down the street. Obviously, there's a projection. It's not, you know, there's a portion that's 2-story and a portion that's 3-story, but there are other ones on Briar Hill as well. Some of the ones we also provided some of the notes on, some of the photos and addresses of. What I will say is that it's about, when you talk about impact, you have to look at where the adjacent buildings are and how that impacts them. In the case of 73, that house is almost 1.8 meters away from the property line, in addition to the 1.2 meters that we are. So there's a good 10 feet away. So I'm just talking about, when I talk about impact, I think in terms of that. You know, we did bring it down, but we're trying to work with the design of the home without getting into, you know, ceiling heights which are not compatible or functional for my client. I did speak with him because I do understand there's some concern about the variance because, you know, a flat roof has a different standard than a slope roof. You know, if it pleased the committee, I can make a further adjustment to it. But it's something that we are really tight with that with regards to the design. So we're really trying to, you know, present what we're presenting to you is something that we've modified it specifically to minimize the impact. And we feel that there was no concern expressed from 77 on the other side, nor 73, the two adjacent immediate neighbors. So we felt that plus planning comments. I mean, we take planning very seriously. When we come in with an application, we always check with them, and they specifically told us they have no concerns with this application. So.
Okay, just to confirm, 73 Briar Hill, 202 Albertus, 160 Albertus, and 88 Castlefield?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Any other questions from committee members?
Through you, Madam Chair. The applicant mentioned that they're, I think I've heard that you mentioned that you you may want to do some adjustments. I'm not sure, does that mean that you would like to make that adjustment now? Like you want to present it to us, or no, you think you just keep with the numbers that you have for the site?
If,
Yes.
I guess what what I'm trying to do is we're coming back for a second time for this file, and we've made efforts to try to make it more compatible. Obviously, we don't want to have to come back again. So my client has directed me that if it suits the committee, we are okay to reduce the wall height to 9.5 meters. Of course, that's something that does have an impact on the plans, but it's something that he would be, it would be fine to work with. We're just trying to illustrate the fact that it's really, if the committee feels that 9.7 is too high, we're willing to bring it down to 9.5. So I can make that change now or leave it to you, the committee members, if you feel like you would like to impose that. Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? No? Let's go to the residents. Is there anyone, excuse me, in the audience here to speak to this item? No? I take it they're online. Go ahead, please.
Hello, it's Lori Martin at 89 Castlefield Avenue.
Thank you. All right, you can go ahead and give us your comments.
Okay, Madam Chairman, my husband and I have lived at 89 Castlefield since 1988. We strongly object to the application, and by way of background, the committee should know that since the mid-1990s, we and our neighbors on the block have rallied together to preserve the neighborhood streetscape on Castlefield. For example, back in the 1990s, we were successful at the then OMB in achieving significant modifications at a half dozen properties on our block alone that were being redeveloped. In fact, our actions on our block were the catalyst for city planning, studying the issue of preserving neighborhood, streetscape, and parking solutions for low-density residential neighborhoods that ultimately resulted in the prohibition of basement garages across the city through the general zoning bylaw. More specifically to this proposal this morning, we take issue with the proposed house form is out of scale with existing older homes and the newer infill housing. The predominant feature at eye level is the integral garage as opposed to a front entrance or living room window relating to grade level as would be typical or desirable. And I note that the proposed driveway associated with the integral garage abuts the existing mutual driveway that currently provides parking to the rear of both 75 and 73 Castlefield. Also, the proposed development is described as having a front porch, which is misleading since the elevation plans and section drawings show there is no porch. The creation of an additional curb cut will eliminate a street parking spot, which is a problem since commuters from out of the city limits park on our block and walk to their place of employment. And also in the last 2 years, the Madison construction site at Yonge and Castlefield, the construction workers wheel in before 6 a.m. so that they can get to their construction project. The soft landscaping in the front yard on this is replaced with hard pavement to accommodate a new driveway. And again, I'm repeating myself by saying it's next to the existing driveway that serves 73 and 75 Castlefield. My last points are, it's my understanding that the applicant is intending on constructing a front yard parking pad at 73 Castlefield Avenue. That parking pad is not shown on the site plan. This will have a very negative effect on the large street tree at 73 Castlefield Avenue. And there is no indication of any tree protection at 73 Castlefield. Not in the arborist report page 9 specifically of the revised arborist report, or on the site plan that's in front of the committee. I'd also like to point out to the committee that the house at 73 Castlefield is not owner occupied. It's in a state of disrepair and operates as a short-term rental. Given the owner's absence, there's no pressing need for a parking pad. Airbnb visitors do not need a parking pad when public transit is so readily available at Yonge and Eglinton. In fact, a parking pad at 73 Castlefield Avenue has the potential to be an interim staging area for construction materials for the 75 Castlefield Avenue proposed project, thereby stressing further the mature street tree at 73 Castlefield. And lastly, I want to bring to the committee's attention that the applicant has a track record of not adhering to tree protection measures, as was the case when the applicant redeveloped 37 Castlefield Avenue. Our street deserves better. The variances are not minor, the proposal is not desirable or appropriate. However the committee decides, I strongly urge 2 conditions be attached to avoid anticipated future conflicts with the applicant. 1, a front yard parking pad be strictly prohibited at 73 Castlefield Avenue. And 2, a tree protection barrier be erected to city standards surrounding the street tree located at 73 Castlefield Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Committee members, does anyone have any questions for the speaker? No? All right, thank you. Do we have any other speakers? Staff? No, okay. Let's give it back to the applicant to respond to these concerns from the resident.
Sure, thank you very much, Chair. The parking pad that she's talking about is no longer a part of the picture. It was removed. I don't know why she went on the reason there's no tree protection shown or parking pad shown, because there is no proposed parking pad for 73. So I'm not sure where her information is that this is still something ongoing. It is not. So to be absolutely clear, Forestry is happy with our revised driveway for our driveway and our garage. There is no application for 73 for a parking pad. And that was one of her comments that I wanted to be clear that that there's really no impact on the large tree in front of 73 whatsoever. We're completely outside that zone. Asking for us to drive our car to the back of the property and store, park in the back is not something that is typical these days. In fact, it's something that would be challenging for anyone later at night to drive back and try to park in the back. That's why most new homes these days have garages built in to the home. It is a 30-foot lot. It is a fairly standard footprint. And we do have a garage, and we do have an adequate driveway access into the garage. So, and with Forestry's blessing, so to speak. Her comment with regards to 37 Castlefield, I'm not sure I understand what that was about. I'm not the builder. I did plans for them. How that turned out, who was involved with the construction, is something that she would have to take up with someone else on that matter. So the only things I can address are the fact that we've made our efforts, we've done our research, and the plans before you are not unusual in the area. The fact that we're back after having been before you previously with a new application shows that my client is really trying to efforts here to come back with something that fits into the neighborhood. My further willingness to bring the height down further is part of that. We also eliminated the overall height. We've narrowed the house. We've shortened the house. We've brought the density down. There is a front porch. It's a A front porch with 6 steps up to it, so I'm not sure why she says that's not a porch. So I'll leave it there. I just feel that the comments and the concerns related to were mostly about a parking pad that doesn't exist. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee members, any questions for the applicant? No? All right, thank you very, oh, sorry, Mr. Kibu.
Yes, sir. I would like just a couple of clarification. You said you were willing to decrease the height and density. So to what extent are you willing or able to decrease that density?
Well, thank you. The density has been reduced from the previous application. The actual density of the home itself on the above ground is at 69.9%. But because of the way in which the zoning examiners calculated, they included the basement, and that basement is why it appears higher, but it's comparable to any other home in the area in terms of above ground density. In fact, I think it's lower than some of the other ones. As far as the height, I did offer to bring the height down for the sidewall height to 9.5 meters from the requested variance of 9.7. So thank you.
Just 9.5 or 9.7, please.
9.5. We came into this application with 9.7, but we're willing to go to 9.5 just simply because we understand there's still concerns about the overall wall height. And I feel like I'd like to, within reason, to be able to still build the house my client wishes, to bring it down to 9.5.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? No? That being said, we will take this into committee for comments and motion. Who wants to start?
Madam Chair, I'm happy to get us started with a couple comments. I do recall this application coming last fall, and I do recall some of the concerns with respect to the overall massing. I'm glad to see that the applicant has made a number of changes to assuage some of those concerns. I still do have a little bit of concern with the side main wall height. In reviewing the material, the applicant submitted a number of houses with similar side main wall heights, and I would agree with the applicant that from a quantitative standpoint, yes, there are other lots that have higher main wall heights in the area, but this is an area with where higher main wall heights are afforded. They are often mitigated by things like angular planes, and they often carry for only a portion of the house, whether it's to facilitate a side gable or a front gable. In this case, we're dealing with a side main wall height, which is being asked for the entire building all the way around. Yes, so aside from that, I think the other variances I'm comfortable with, I think, in terms of meeting the 4 tests. I'm curious to see, though, what my colleagues have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, I do have the same, I do share the same concerns for the side main walls. I think it's for entire house, and that is something that I have concerns for that.
Just to clarify, you still have concerns even if it's reduced to 9.5?
I do. In my review, I initially felt comfortable with a reduction of 0.6, which would take us to 9.1. Again, that's not to say that they cannot, work with that. They can integrate, some angular planes to keep those main wall heights down. Often, I don't really take the submission that, the house doesn't work with 9.1. You're asking for 9-foot ceilings on the second, 10-foot ceilings on the second, and 9-foot on the third, which, I understand is desirable. I don't think it's greedy by any means, but with this typology, and we've said this again and again, if you're integrating this type of typology, you need to be mindful of the fact that you might have less reduced heights in that section where you're trying to have the garage. You know, on the flip side, on the other side of the house, where you come in the entryway, you're looking at 15, 14 foot, you know, you're looking at pretty tall ceiling heights over there. So there's a bit of a, I think when you're working with this typology, you have to be mindful of that, particularly in this area, because this area is not, while it does support that typology, it's not characteristic of it. And there's still, this is a neighborhood to one of the neighbors that spoke that has character. It's an older neighborhood. There's a lot of older, more established homes. And I think we need to be mindful when we're introducing newer buildings and new typologies into the neighborhood that they fit within the character of the area. So I would be willing to support an approval with a modified variance on the side main wall height of 9.1 meters. So I'll put that out there.
Mr. Kubu, do you have any?
Yes, Madam Chair. I think we sat on the initial application, and I was quite, and based on the explanation from the applicant representative, I was quite open to making this thing happen this time. Maybe we can go with my friend's suggestion to decrease, to ask the applicant if they could further decrease the height so that we could approve this application. I think they've made a lot of changes, and although some are still needed.
All right, Mr. Allison, are you prepared to make a motion?
Sure. Through you, Madam Chair, I'll bring a motion to approve the application as amended. I should note, actually, just before I get to that, as a point of clarification, the variances that we brought up were modified. They're already on the public notice, right? We don't need to modify the other variances. Okay. So with that said, I'll bring a motion to approve the subject application with the modification to variance number 2 for the side main wall height to be reduced to 9.1 meters. No other conditions I see.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a seconder? Mr.
Yes, I
Fazeli?
second that motion.
Thank you. All those in favor? That is unanimous. No?
No, it's not. It's
Sorry,
not unanimous. I oppose, and I would really appreciate you all looking at the camera to take my vote and my hand being up for, you know, comments, etc.
We see you. We noted it.
Sorry. I'm sorry, Ms. Sankar. I couldn't see you on the panel at that point. All right, so we have in favor, we have, I guess, well, let's just do it again, just for order. Okay, all those in favor? And opposed? Ms. Sankar is opposed. All right, that motion is carried. Your application's been approved. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 5 Tally Lane. This is an application for a new detached dwelling. We have variances for front yard setback, coverage, number of stories, building length, building height, height of exterior main walls. On file, we have a survey, plans, a community planning report, a letter of objection from 7 Tally Lane, and a late letter from Councillor Shelley Carroll regarding the number of stories. And we have the applicant with us in the audience. Thank you.
Good morning.
Please state your name and address first,
Good
please.
morning, Madam Chair, member of the committee. My name is Mehran Haydari, applicant for this application.
And your address?
It's 1090 Dunblaine Road, Unit 506, North Circle, Ontario.
Thank you.
All right.
And before we begin, do you have any changes to make to the application?
Yes, based on the staff recommendation, we are changing the variance number 6 and number 7. We're modifying the sidewall height from 8.6 to 8.3 meter in both number 6 and 7.
Sorry, could you repeat variance number 6?
Variance number 6, the proposed height of the side exterior main wall facing east side lot is 8.6 meter that we are modifying to 8.3 meter.
Thank you. And the other one?
And number 7, the proposed height of the side exterior main wall facing the west side lot is 8.6 meter that we modifying to 8.3 meter.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So do we want to presentate? Oh, yeah, we have people here for this one. All right. So if you could proceed with a brief presentation. Thank you.
Yes, start with the Mrs. Councillor's office. So we had the same variances and the communication with the Mrs. Councillor's office before for various application, and Ms. Councillor withdrew the comments after we sent the rationale and also the drawing and explanation. And now we sent those history to their office, and I personally talked to Mrs. Robin and Mr. Sherrod, and they said that they gonna talk with the Mrs. Councillor, but because of the budget meeting that they were very busy this week, they couldn't have the chance to back to us. But the same variance that we already approved in the, for example, 5 White Log, 27 citation in this committee a couple months ago. And this variance comes because of the 3-story. This variance is, if you see the drawing A010, established grade is lower than the regular house because of the slope to the back. So we need this variance after the new definition of the basement came in effect. Also, if you see the drawing A02, the garage landing is almost same as basement, and the basement has just a 2-step up to the backyard. That is because of the slope to the backyard. So this is the addressing the comment from the councillor's office. And explaining variance number 1, the minimum front yard setback is 5.87 meter, that the proposed is 5.78 meter, that is almost 9 centimeter. So the main wall is 6.53 meter, just 3.3 meter of the front wall. At the middle, we have this variance, and the variance and the most of the building is more than the bylaw, 6.53 meter. And about the variance number 4, the lengths, if you see again the drawing, so the main building is 16.66 meter, that is less than the bylaw, and we just have 3.3 meter of the front part, that is because of the design is 0.4 meter more than the bylaw. So the rest I address because we modified number 6 and 7. If there is any question, I'm more than happy to answer.
Any questions from panel members? No? Okay. So is there anyone in the audience here to speak to this application? Please come forward and state your name and address. Oh, we have 2 people. Okay.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
My name is Sarush, owner of 1 Tally Lane.
Okay.
We're happy that we're getting a brand new house built next to us. It just came to our notice that height of first floor, I believe, is 11 feet, sorry, and the height of the second floor is 10.9 meter or 9.8 meter or 9.10. Regarding variance number 5, the total height of the building is 10.3 meters. And we do know that a lot of 3 stories home have been built that are 10 meters or less. So we're objecting to 10.3 meters, and we would like to keep it to 10 meters. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions of the resident? No. Yes, go
Through you,
ahead.
Madam Chair, I understood that you're requesting to keep it 10 meters. Could you elaborate more of what is the reason that you're requesting for that?
So we're owner of number 1, and it's going to be increasing higher than our house, and it's going to block our view, and we want to keep it as low as possible. Like I said, a lot of homes around the area neighborhood have been built up to 10 meters, and we don't want our view to be fully blocked off.
Thank you.
Same question, almost same question. What is the maximum allowed in the height allowed in the area?
I believe it's 10 meters.
Anyone else? Oh,
I do note that your home is relatively, it's a newer home.
Correct.
On the street, and it has a fairly consistent main wall height all the way around. Do you happen to know what that main wall height is?
I believe our first floor is 9 meters and second floor is 9 feet and 10 feet.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
all right, thank you.
No
You
problem.
can
Thank
sit
you.
down now. And the other gentleman that's here? Sorry, I didn't see you at the beginning, so I'm going to take this person first. Oh, sorry.
Good morning.
Good morning. Please state your name and address, please, for the record.
I'm Dave Johnston, and we're next door, number 7 Tally Lane.
Thank you. You can go ahead and give us your comments.
So we have been at 7 Tally Lane since 1975, and we've enjoyed the beautiful surrounds, et cetera, and so on, of Baby Village. Understanding the changes that are taking place are probably inevitable. But in this case, we object to all of the variances that are requested for a variety of reasons. And the reasons were put in our submission, along with late yesterday, a summary and some pictures. So when we look at the 7 variances requested, although they may be, quote, small on their individual basis, when you combine them together, it starts to look quite significant, particularly in a couple of areas. The sun shadow is huge, and almost all of the variances relative to sun shadow contribute to increasing the shadow even further. So whether it's the front yards, backyard setbacks, side set, along with the height that the previous gentleman just talked to, they're all significant, and we would request your consideration in rejecting them. When I summarize the 7 requests, we have organized them into 4 key areas: the sunlight and shadow, as I just talked to, the privacy that will be lost associated with that, the drainage and water runoff has been significant. We've had recent flooding in our backyards, and with the increasing footprint, height, et cetera, and so on, it becomes challenging to understand the changes that need to be made to the drainage. The impact on the neighborhood character will again be significant, not only in terms of the height and breadth and depth of the house, but also then it runs into sight lines and losing the capability to see the whole area, the area around the homes, in context of the way Baby Village used to be, recognizing that it's inevitable to have the newer homes built to higher levels of standards. And so when the initial application came to us, we were wondering why so many variances associated with a first request going against the quote bylaws. And so again, that would concern us no end. So when you put it all together, the sun shadow and its impacts is very significant. It decreases privacy in both front and backyards, and the way our home is situated relative to the new proposed house decreases privacy both in the front and in the back. In recent terms, everybody is well aware of the increasing impact of climate change. And I think it was in July last year, we had significant flooding, no damage, but significant flooding from the major storm. And so with the increasing footprint, et cetera, and so on, then we risk significant more flooding than it's ever been before. And we would have to take quite different preparations to deal with that.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up. If you had anything else to add, otherwise.
No, I think I've just tried to summarize what's in here.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for the resident? No? Thank you. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any other speakers? Yes. One more? Oh, no, okay. All right, then we'll have the applicant come back, please, and address the concerns that have been raised.
Okay, thank you for everyone to explain their concern, and I'm addressing the concern. So first of all, about the comments on neighbor number 7. If you see our site plan, so we have what we have on the design. We improved the sides and the front yard setback. Also, rear main wall stayed at the same location of the proposed plan. Existing side setback is 1.2 meter. Our proposed setback is 1.8 meter and 2.23 meter. That actually we improved the side setback, and any flood or anything is improving the condition of the runoff, and also this the sun and shadow is less than the existing house after building. Actually, I know the height of the building is higher than the existing, but again, this is on the bylaw. And if you also look at the drawing, for example, drawing A08, yeah, thank you. So if you see this drawing, the side wall height is 7.5 meter, that is matched with the bylaw in the most part of the building. And just in the front part, because of the, we like to have the unique design and the desired design by my client, so we need the variance for the sidewall height that is higher than the, you know, that bylaw allows us to have the 30% of the sidewall height more than the maximum 7.5 meter. And here is a slightly more than the 30%, is just because of the interior design and the ceiling and the attic design for this portion, that we want to have the room completely And about the height of the main floor, that number 1 Tally Lane mentioned, it's from floor to floor. It means we have the 14 inches ceiling thickness, and the height of the main floor is not 11 something, is a 10. And same at the second floor, we have the 9-foot height. And about the 10.3 meter height of the main building that they have the concern. If you again look at the drawing A08, so most part of the building has the slope 12 to 20, and the rest is 3.12 that you cannot notice, and there is no extra shadow because we have the shallow slope over there. And if you see from the side on the back, you cannot see the second roof. This design is a mansard roof, so the second part of the roof at the top, so you cannot notice from the back or from the side or from the street. And the only portion that we have, if you look at the drawing A05, the roof plan, no, go up please. Yeah, one more, yes. If you see this gray area, this portion is the 10 meter. And the most part of the roof is less than 10.3 meter. And the most part of the roof is less than this area. That is just because of the design that we were looking for on the front. I hope I could answer on all the address and the concern of the neighbors.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the panel? I just have one question. The elevation drawings we're seeing here are the original ones. They're not with the reduced side main wall height? Like, we don't have updated elevation plans, is that correct?
No, we don't have it, but
Okay.
we accepted the elevation that reduce 8.3 meter, yes.
Okay, no, I was just asking because we could tie the drawings, but it doesn't work that way. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Let's take this into committee. Comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy to jump in. I've got some concerns with respect to the way that height is manifesting itself in the application. I just think that when you have, again, this typology, you have the garage plus another 2 stories above, putting a mansard roof on top of it is just really not the way to go. You've got a flat roof typology, and now you're putting a mansard roof, which is purely decoration. It's not doing anything but creating massing. And it's, typically with a flat roof, you'd expect 12 inches, 14 inches, but in this case, you're looking at 2, 3, 4 feet, right, of roof space. So frankly, I just think also the neighborhood does have some examples, a few examples of newer homes, but generally speaking, this again is an older established neighborhood. Building heights are typically mitigated. I should say newer construction building heights are typically mitigated. I'll just bring up an example. There's a similar house down the street, a couple doors down. Again, it looks similar at number 11, but again, the way that the roof comes down creates a bit of a gable. I think it's a little more successful. My concern is if you take that typology, you take a flat roof and then put a mansard on it, it's a lot of unnecessary bulking and mass at the front of the property. So those are my thoughts. The other variances I think are supportable, but this is just an issue of the way that the height is employed.
Are you referring to overall height? when
I'm
you say
referring
that?
to overall height as well as side main wall
Okay.
height.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they were able to facilitate their ceiling heights, right? It's not like there's a step down at the back. The floor plates are consistent. They've managed to demonstrate that they can, respond to the bylaw at the rear. I get the front as sort of a design thing, but I think it's not. I don't think it's desirable. It's just creating undue massing, and I agree with some of the neighbors' concerns that this there becomes a fit issue with the existing infrastructure, the existing buildings in the area in terms of compatibility. We can't expect that all these properties are going to be torn down and have this typology built. So the question is, how do you integrate this typology in a neighborhood and still have it fit within other typologies and within its context?
Okay, I would just say that the majority of the variances are pretty minor, and they have complied with community planning's request to reduce the side main wall height. So I don't have as many concerns as you do at this point, and I understand it's a big change for the neighborhood, but there's a number of properties that will be redeveloped in coming years, and there are probably a lot more of this typology going to be provided. Sorry, we're in committee, so you can't make any comments now. So I'll leave it at that. I do think maybe if we were to consider an approval, it should be tied to site plan, because that front yard setback reduction is a porch or whatever you call that, canopy type of thing. So it's not for the majority of the property, so the house itself is set back enough, but I think it should be tied to site plan substantially in accordance, but I'll leave it at that.
Fair enough, and I do acknowledge there is a change. This is only for the front of the building, but then the question is there a concern then with this sort of massing at the front, at the streetscape, or is it just at the rear?
Sorry, any other comments from committee? Ms. Sankar, go ahead.
Yeah, I've heard what my colleague had said, but I find myself really wary and cautioning that we don't get into sort of the design of the building. And from my perspective, looking at this application and with what's being proposed by the staff report, I don't have a problem with it.
Thank you, Ms. Sankar. Would anyone like to make a motion? Oh, Mr. Kibu, go ahead.
Mrs. Chair, it's not really a question. I would more likely like to make a motion to approve this application subject to the changes made and suggested by the staff report. I believe, my colleague pointed out a couple of items, but I'm still of the opinion that this application is quite good to go. There may be cosmetic changes, which is not the mandate of this committee, but I believe this application as it stands meets the criteria, and I would like to put forward a motion for us to approve it.
So we have a motion for approval. Do we have a seconder?
May I just, a friendly interjection? Is there any interest in tying to plans as to Madam Chair's comment earlier? Don't know if that's a concern or not.
My suggestion was to tie the front yard setback to the site plan so that it's developed substantially in accordance with that.
Yes, Mrs. Chair.
And Ms. Sankar is seconding the motion. All right, so we have a motion. All those in favor? All right, all opposed? One opposed? Thank you. This motion is carried. Thank you. Your application's been approved.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sorry? Sorry, as amended, yes. So it's been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we need a quick break. 5 minutes? 5-minute break, please. All right, we are back, and we are on item 6, which is 357 Hillhurst Boulevard. It's an application to construct a new dwelling. We have variances for lot coverage, south side yard, rear yard, front yard, side exterior main walls, building length, building depth. And on file, we have previous decisions. Oops, one sec. Survey plans, presentation material, urban forestry conditions, 13 letters of support, late applicant response to objections, a late community planning report, and a late letter of objection, and a late letter of support, an additional one, I guess. Do we have the applicant with us?
Present.
Thank you. If you could state your name and address, please, first.
Yeah, my name is Jordan Karansvit. My address is 357 Hillhurst Boulevard.
Okay, thank you. And do you have any changes to make to the application?
None.
Okay, thank you. So we do have some speakers who would like to speak to this application. So if you could give us a brief presentation on your application, please.
Certainly. Thank you, and good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. I want to tell you that Hillhurst is a very special place in my family's hearts. When we eventually, and hopefully not too distant future, build our house and move in with our young kids, they will be the 4th generation in our family to live on Hillhurst. My grandparents bought number 340 Hillhurst in 1958. My mother grew up in Hillhurst. I grew up in Hillhurst. We really love the street. It's a beautiful street. The schools are some of the best in the city. The park, Viewmount Park, that we back onto is fantastic. And it just so happens we're a 5-minute walk from Glencairn Station, which we'll be able to use to get to our jobs downtown. So we're very enthusiastic about moving into the street in the not too distant future. And when we started to work on our plans with our architect who's here today, Michael, we made it very clear to him, it is a beautiful street. It has a certain nature to it. We want to make sure that we're respectful of that. We're within the context of the street. We're within the beauty of the street. We even ended up visually choosing white bricks, which matches our neighbors to the north as well. But when it came to things like variances, be respectful to the neighbors. Don't stretch the envelope. Get what we need just to build the house that we want. And I think you'll find that's the case. There are a couple technical challenges on this particular piece of land, which I'm sure you've seen on the file. The front yard has a very strange curve to it that ends up exaggerating the length and the depth calculations. As well, we wanted to have a terrace with a fixed canopy off the kitchen on the back. We're backing onto the park. It's nice to be able to spend time outside in the shade and out of the rain. And those also exaggerated the length and the coverage. But when you look at the built form of the house itself, I think you will find it is very modest. And even with the variances stated as such, the height, the depth, the setbacks, and all those variances which are being respectfully requested are lesser in many cases than many other neighbors on our immediate street, details of which you have on the file we sent in. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll just address the variances for you guys. Just
Okay, you have 2 minutes left to do
no sweat,
that.
I can do it. Lot coverage, we're requesting 40.21%. If you deduct...
Sorry, name and address first.
I'm Michael Lafreniere, I'm the architect, 951 Ossington Avenue, Toronto.
Thank you.
The first variance is regarding coverage. So if you deduct the deck, the canopy, and the back deck that's half out of the ground, the coverage would be at 36.5, and even at 40, there's lots of precedence. Side yard is only on the south side. We have support of the neighbor on the south side. The rear yard is again exaggerated by the half above grade enclosed basement, so the setback is being taken to that kind of, it will feel like a deck when you're done, but it does have living space beneath it. If we go back to the site plan, then I think that's the place, it's very easy to explain what's going on in the front site plan. Not the survey, the site plan. Basically, to make a long story short, our house lines up with the houses on either side. However, due to there's a sort of partial court that exists in front of the house, there's a very strange, one more from there. That's the survey. You can see that arc that runs in there, the dashed line that comes down at the top and then hooks around. That's actually the front yard setback line. So all the building length gets taken from that little tiny vertical line portion at the top of the page. So that's approximate, I mean, it's a couple meters in front of the actual main wall and then cuts back and in. So all of our building length and depth is taken from that little piece of a line. So if you had read, I'm sure you did read the applicant's submission I submitted, if you were to take the actual main wall at the rear of the house, we're approximately a meter past what the bylaw says. We have the technical variance number is also taking into account that extension for that deck. All this along this street, there's precedence for building length and building depth, including the house directly to the south where it's a 26-meter building depth, and they don't have the same front yard setback issue that we have. The main wall height, it's a flat roof house. It was previously approved at 7.5 for the main wall. We're asking for 7.95. Lots of houses along this street have heights in excess of 10 meters. There's some in excess of 11 meters. We do not have a height variance here. We only have a main wall variance because, in fact, the main wall is pretty close to the height minus a small extension for the parapet. And we're not that much less than what's previously been accepted. Happy to answer questions regarding the request for additional conditions from the neighbor to the north. I think that's a better way to address it than going through them at this time.
Thank you very much. Any questions from panel members? No? All right. Sorry. All right, so let's move on to our speakers. In the audience, we have somebody coming forward. Thank you. If you could state your name and address, please, first.
Hello. Yes, my name is Amber Stewart, and I'm at 62 Sunvale Drive in Toronto, M9R1Z3, and I'm counsel for Nancy and Max Rothstein. And Nancy's here with me, but she won't be speaking.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So I've just said I'm counsel for Nancy and Max. They are the owners of 359 Hillhurst, which is the next door neighbor to the north of the property. Nancy and Max have lived there since 1969, 56 years. I think one thing that's important to note, and there's a map in the letter that I sent into committee, which I think illustrates this, if that could be put on the screen. But I think what's important to note is that Hillhurst curves to the north at this corner. So I'm aware of the support letters that have been provided by the applicant, but really, truly, Nancy and Max are the most directly affected neighbors in this case. The neighbor to the south at 355 has already built a much larger home, and there's no active space on that north side yard. There's no door. There's no visibility between the two homes at the side yard at the ground level. So really, it's Nancy and Max who are going to be most directly affected because they live in an original home. On their south side yard, so looking at the north wall of the subject property, they have a kitchen door that is made of glass and a kitchen window. And you can see that Nancy and Max are in their 80s. They are an elderly couple who have lived in this home, and they very much value their enjoyment of their home and their ability to continue to live in that home and feel safe and secure using particularly that north side yard. I've outlined in detail, I'm aware of my time limit, so I'm not going to go through the concerns that I've raised in my objection letter in great detail. One thing I do think I need to correct from Mr. Lafreniere's submission a moment ago, building length is not measured from the required front yard setback, it's measured from the front wall of the building. Building depth is measured from the required front yard setback. I'm not sure how much turns on it, but it is a correction to be made for the committee. I will say that under the official plan considerations, it is not sufficient to simply point out a few examples of variances. It is necessary to examine the existing context and make sure that everything fits. You can see that we've tried to do that, and this home is certainly not representative of what is prevailing in terms of character, in terms of massing size, the numeric magnitude of the variances. It would be within the minority. However, what I really want to focus on with the time I have left are the impacts to Nancy and Max and the way that we are asking that this committee consider addressing them. Nancy and Max are going to have a building that is now 2 stories in height with a main wall height variance that exceeds the bylaw. I know it's 7.95 meters. The top of the parapet, which is what you'll see, goes to 8.15 meters, and that is for the entire length, 100% of all 4 side walls in this case. It's going to come closer to them, and as you can see, thank you for putting that on the screen. From the rear perspective, that's going to be about 9.65 meters out above the grade. So this house is undoubtedly longer, taller, bigger. It exceeds the building dimensions in almost all respects, and it is going to cast additional massing and shadowing impacts on Nancy and Max. And it is going to make that side yard between the two properties darker, have less light, and narrower with less space. And they are so concerned about the impacts arising from this that they have gone to the trouble of hiring me to come here and represent those concerns to the Committee of Adjustment. Now, I have to tell you that I actually met them in 2017 when I acted for the previous owner of 357 Hillhurst. So I acted in support of a development application which was appealed to the OMB. My client in that case was able to reach a settlement with Nancy and Max because we were able to include accommodations in minutes of settlement, which were public record, to address their concerns. And in this case, it's unfortunate. I acknowledge that the owners have reached out and have had discussions with us, but it is very unfortunate that they haven't been willing to make similar accommodations that were made in that case. They were aware of the concerns that Nancy and Max had. I do want to point out that there was a meeting on December 6th between Mr. Krentzvit and Ms. Dubrovsky and my clients by phone. And my clients have informed me that they were assured several times that the new house would not be coming any closer to the side yard than the current house sits. Now, I understand that mistakes do happen, and it may just have been a misstatement, but it is something that was said. And it's led to this situation where my clients really have no confidence that any of these concerns are going to be addressed during construction if there is no way to secure those concerns. I sent in yesterday an email from Mr. Krentzvit where he confirmed that he essentially had no objection to certain of the conditions that we were asking for, where he said he was willing to install lighting in the side yard, willing to at least make best efforts, barring any unforeseen circumstances, to locate mechanical venting and HVAC into the south side yard. But unfortunately, they haven't been prepared to agree to those things in writing. I'm sorry, and also security cameras in the north side yard. I promise I'm almost done. I'll wrap up very quickly. I appreciate your indulgence, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. So I pointed that out because I think it is a matter of written record that Mr. Krentzvit has confirmed that the items that we are asking for are in fact feasible. They are something that are of critical importance. Nancy is an author. She's lived in this home and written in this home. She's a published author recognized internationally, and she's continuing to work with the archives to gather her literary papers and work for preservation for the long term. So it is critical to her that once the house is built, she's able to continue to be there, to enjoy her home, and to mitigate the impacts that are going to be caused by this house, which is clearly going to be bigger, taller, and coming closer to her side property line. So with respect to the conditions, I know I can anticipate that the applicant is going to say that they're not reasonable and not related to the variances. I respectfully disagree. I've done hundreds of hearings like this, both at committee and at the OMB and at the TLAB, and these nature of conditions are imposed. There is jurisdiction to impose them. They are related to address impacts from a newer, larger house that is going to be built closer to the property line. The conditions that we are asking for, which are set out in an appendix to my letter, the first is essentially a similar condition to planning. It's a little more comprehensive, requesting construction substantially in accordance with the site plan and the elevations. The second and third condition relate to restrictions on having mechanical equipment located in the north side yard or venting to the north side yard and the east front yard, and that's to prevent noise so that Nancy can continue to work in her home office, which is right at the corner of the dwelling. The fourth condition relates to the installation of landscape lighting in the side yard between the two dwellings, and installation of a security camera that is directed down that side yard. And as I said, Mr. Krentzvit has already indicated to us that he's probably going to do these things anyway. So what we are asking for respectfully is that the committee impose these as conditions of approval. They are capable of being cleared. They are causing minimal impact to the applicant owner. And what they will do is give my clients some peace and some security that they will be able to continue to live and work in this home with the impacts of construction and impacts of the new dwelling mitigated. It's not going to solve all of their problems, but it's what we are humbly before you to ask for today. So thank you for the additional
you.
time. I know I went over. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So, I mean, it is my understanding that we cannot impose conditions that are unrelated to the variances. So ideally, that agreement is made between neighbors, and ideally, you've resolved that before you come to committee. So let's hold that thought for now, and we will move on to see if there's any other speakers. I don't think there. Oh, yes, we have Councillor Pasternak, I'm sorry, on the line to speak as well.
I'm sorry,
So-
I would have stood down
That's
for him to
okay.
go first.
That's
I didn't
okay.
know. My apologies.
So we will hear from Councillor Pasternak's office.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Go
So
ahead.
you can sound check. You can hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee members. Happy New Year. I'm here to just speak for a few minutes in support of this application. It's clear from the staff report that they agree with the application that's being made. And I quote from it, "The proposal meets the intents of the official plan and zoning bylaw, is minor in nature and considered an appropriate development of the lands." And for anyone making an application in front of committee adjustment, that is the golden line that they all like to see. So we have a positive staff report. And of course, the design elements itself fits into the general neighborhood. We have 13 letters of support, which exceeds many of the applications that I've seen to get that kind of support across the neighborhood is quite positive. And of course, the extension of the basement is something for the future as we look to single-family detached homes to enhance the opportunity for basement apartments in a city that has a housing crisis. There are some requests from a neighbor. I'm of the view that some of them are unreasonable, but I think the chair has also declared them out of order. This owner, this applicant, has done everything he can to reach out to local neighbors to make sure that their concerns are heard and to get the supports that they need to proceed. As a homeowner, and when I speak to many homeowners, having a good neighbor is crucial. And with this application, you will secure this family being a neighbor to Max and Nancy. They're a good family and a good neighbor. And I've seen many times where we've seen toxic relationships between neighbors. I can assure you, in knowing the family of the applicant, that this is a wonderful family that will be a great neighbor, and I'm sure Nancy and Max will be very happy to have them next to them. So with that, I support the application. I believe it's reasonable. It has staff support. It has neighborhood support. It's interference with the personal lifestyles of the neighborhood will be very minimal. Like any other house in the area, you have to give and take because good neighbors are hard to find. So with that, I'll conclude my remarks, and I urge the committee to support the application unamended, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Do we have any questions? Yes, we have one from Mr. Allison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Follow-up question for the councillor. What's your interest in this application?
If I had an interest in it, I wouldn't be deputing. It wouldn't be appropriate. I have been approached by the applicant. I have read through the staff report and seen some of the letters of support. I have looked at the variances. It makes sense. I've been asked to depute in its favor, and when a reasonable application comes and I'm asked to depute, I decide whether to do so. And in this case, I decided to share my views.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other
Thank you.
questions for the councillor? No? Thank you, councillor.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
All right, we'll go back to the applicant to address the concerns of the next door neighbor.
I want to first say Amber's correct in her reading of the length of what I said earlier. It is taken from the front wall, not from the setback line. So my apologies there. I had a short window to work it into. So just to reiterate, it's not a 3-story residence, it's a 2-story residence. The previous application where Amber was involved in, it was 15 centimeters shorter than what we're at right now. So this is a modest increase upon the agreement that came to previously. There's no side yard setback on the north side. So any impact to the neighbor on the north, there is no side yard setback there. Moreover, the neighbor's air conditioner and backup generator are on her south side of the house, creating noise for which we are being asked to not create noise. Jordan and Lisa, I'm sure, will be operating at the highest level of standard of working well with the neighbors and working within the bylaws for constructing the house. And I think any additional variance, any additional condition based on something more obscure, I feel like they don't want to do that because we don't want to get any more lawyers' letters. So, but I'm happy to take any questions about the variances or the proposal.
I just have one question then regarding the neighbors' concerns. Was there any reason why the owners aren't agreeing to, I understand the venting issue maybe being a bit sensitive, but the landscape lighting or some sort of lighting in that side yard and the security camera,
I'm pretty sure we're going to do lighting and a side yard and security camera there. You know, I'll notice that one of the items said to install and maintain security cameras. You know, part of it is, what if the light burns out? You know, I think we have to be afforded the opportunity to act reasonably as neighbors and not have a light or a security camera that are part of a legal settlement. You know, maybe that happens at the OMB, but
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for the applicant? No?
Thank you.
All right, you're excused and we will take this into committee. Comments? I'm happy to start. I think that the variances being requested are reasonable, and I think I would agree with staff that it be tied to site plan, that the building length and depth be tied to site plan so that the building is more or less is where it's shown in the drawings. And the only other thing I think, given the additional building length and depth are related to this deck or porch on the back, that we make a condition that it remain unenclosed as opposed to just a blanket condition for building length and depth. Those are my comments.
Through you, Madam Chair, I support your observation, your comments. I do note there's a urban forestry #1 condition. I don't have any concern with the north setback. There is no variance. They've complied. I think also in terms of building length and depth, it's a unique lot. There's not too much. There's very little extension beyond sort of the existing kind of footprint in relationship to both neighbors. The impact is quite minimal. So if there's no other comments, I'm happy to bring a motion.
Yes, please.
Yes, I see heads. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the subject application on the condition of urban forestry #1 and the condition that the length and depth variances be tied to the site plan, substantially in accordance with. Oh, sorry, and was there desire the north and south elevation as well, I think was mentioned? Okay, as well the north and south elevation then, substantially in accordance with as well.
And would you add the unenclosed porch in the back?
I apologize, yes, and as well the condition that the porch at the rear shall remain unenclosed.
Thank you. All right, do we have a seconder? Ms. Sankar seconds that. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Motion carried, and your application's been approved as amended. Or as conditioned, I should say. All right, moving on to number 7, 96 Dunblaine Avenue. This is an application for a new dwelling with variances for side yard to a pergola, east side yard to rear deck, height of exterior main side walls, number of stories, building length, east side yard setback, lot coverage, size of a platform at or above the second story, and minimum width of a parking space. On file, we have survey, plans, revised plans, an arborist report, and presentation material. Do we have the applicant with us?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Jonathan Miskowski, 301 Keewatin Avenue.
All right, thank you. And I don't see any speakers on this application, but do we want a presentation? No? I think we're saying we don't need a presentation unless there's something you would like to bring to the committee's attention.
There is not, Madam Chair.
All right. Okay, any questions of the applicant? No? All right, we can move into committee then.
Sorry, Madam
Oh,
Chair.
sorry.
I just wanted to, yeah, I wanted to ask a question just around if, he could sort of talk about variance number 8 with the proposed rear deck above the second story is 24.03 meters and to sort of maybe be open about the explanation if that confuses folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Through you, Madam Chair. Ms. Sanko-Peralta, that's essentially the deck that's accessed off of the functional first floor. There are no decks, which by the zoning bylaw definition would consider it the third floor, but in an actual reality, it would be the second. So that's actually the walkout off of the first floor, which relates to the variance for the pergola. Because this is considered a 3-story house, the basement essentially is now considered the first floor, and it just pushes everything up from there.
Thank you for that.
All right, any other questions? No? All right. Oh, sorry, Mr. Allison, go ahead.
Just a quick question, just with respect to some sightlines off of those decks. I wonder if this might benefit from screening, but I'd like to ask the applicant first if there's been any discussion with the neighbors. As often is the case, sometimes that screening is, although helpful, it often creates additional massing and is undesired. So maybe the applicant can just elaborate on that.
Through you, Madam Chair, could we bring up my support material, page 2? And really, the only reason I'd like to bring this up, Mr. Allison, as it relates to the privacy screen, along this block of Dunblaine, there's essentially only 2 houses that have not been developed of a similar fashion to the one that is before you today. I'm not sure of the real relationship with privacy screening, but I can tell you privacy screening is somewhat of a new condition we're putting into applications, be it the last kind of 2 to 3 years type thing. So I'm not quite sure. I have been in the rear yard, but I could only see a couple properties. Either way, they did not have privacy screening. But again, the built form of the typology of that built up rear deck is what would exist along Dunblaine today, both to the north and the south. As we can see here from, again, this being one of 2 only undeveloped dwellings on the north side of Dunblaine. I'm in your hands if that is a condition you would like to put there. We did put a pergola, which has a column and a little bit of protection, but again, it wouldn't function essentially as a privacy screen.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, no further questions.
All right, thank you. Could we take this into committee then?
Through you, Madam Chair, if no comments from the colleagues, I'd like to forward a motion to approve this application. I believe it's desirable, satisfies the 4 test, and that's the reason for my motion.
Thank you. Seconder?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Okay, all those in favor? That is unanimous. Your application has been approved.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee.
You're welcome. All right, moving on to application number 8, 120 Del Park Avenue. It's the application for a new dwelling with a rear deck.
You hear me?
Yeah, one sec.
Hello? Okay.
Sorry, one moment, just grabbing my notes here. We have variances for east and west side yard setbacks, rear deck projection, front yard landscaping, lot coverage, maximum height of front and rear exterior main walls, main pedestrian entrance height, and driveway width. On file, we have a survey, plans, arborist report, transportation services report, and 10 letters of support. So, applicant, can you please state your name and address?
My name is Richard Idels, OAA. My address is 80 North Meadow Crescent, Thornhill, Ontario.
Thank you. And do you have any changes to make to the application today?
I do want, it's very important to make a clarification. I'm not sure the committee is, that there's a clarification here in our response to transportation. So the transportation responded by, they wanted a reduced width, which we are doing, and we did send you the correct documentation. We're reducing the width of the driveway from front to, from the house to the street to 4.57 meters, which was their recommendation. So we would, right, but I just want to point out that maybe I'm a little confused. Of course, we have the zoning, the zoning review application. Their numbering system is a little bit different than the committee's. So I want to be sure that we're changing the right. What should I be referring to? Should I be referring to the
public notice?
Variances?
The public notice variances, please.
Is January 16th, dated January 16th, 2025. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at, no. I was looking at the transportation. It is January 13th. That's the one that you were looking at?
January
Public
23rd.
notice? Public hearing. January 23rd.
We'll put it up on the screen so everybody can see it.
Okay.
We don't have that.
We don't have that? No, we weren't sent that. It looks like we weren't sent that for
That's
some
today.
reason.
January 23rd is today.
Today is the 23rd. Okay, I'm going to read from the January 13th. We don't seem to have the 23rd. It wasn't sent to us yet.
No, sorry, the 23rd is the date of the meeting. That's okay. Is it January 13th, staff? Is that correct? We don't have a date.
On the
in
upper
front of us.
left hand.
Okay, go ahead.
It was
It's that
sent
one.
January 13th. Okay, it's that one. So variance number 9, which refers to the driveway width. And we are asking not for 4.2, first of all, we are complying with transportation. 5.49 is too wide. They have suggested 4.57 is the proper, and that is the variance that we would like to change that to.
So variance number 9 is being amended.
Correct. The proposed driveway width is amended to, yes, 4.57.
Okay, thank you. Good. All right.
And also we did, we also eliminated one. We also eliminated on that same one is number 4. Right? We eliminated the landscape. There is no front landscaping. You have a minimum 60% front yard landscaping as number 4 variance.
Right.
A minimum of 60% front landscaping. So we are complying with that. So that we can take off.
Okay, so we're eliminating variance 4.
4, correct. And changing variance 9.
Right. Okay, thank you. We don't have any speakers from what I can see. And there's nobody here. So do we want a presentation? A very brief presentation, if you don't mind.
Okay, I just want to say the owner is born and raised in Toronto. He has a growing family. They've lived in the neighborhood for a number of years. They're in the local school system. They get along very well with the neighbors. We have 10 letters, like it was said. He showed everyone the plans, discussed it with his neighbors. Everyone is fine with it. And and we believe that we passed the 4 tests, and the home is within the context of the neighborhood. And we would appreciate, that the committee agrees with us and allows it to happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have a question for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to ask about the main entrance height, whether or not the applicant has looked at the immediate or broader context to support a height beyond 1.2 meters.
With the new, ever since they eliminated the below grade garage, there's always these issues come up, and we believe that it is minor, and we've done a number of houses like this, and we don't believe it's going to affect anybody's sight lines or anybody else's. We are stepping up, perhaps higher than us, not all the houses, but maybe some of the a couple of the older ones. But it's just the nature of how the bylaw goes these days. You still want to have, in the basement, you want to have windows. And we really try our hardest to bring it down lower. I'm sure every architect does. That's one of the issues that we have with revised. So that's my comment. We tried our best to bring it as low as possible, and have a garage that's at grade as required, and that's what we came up with.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Fazeli, go ahead.
Through you, Madam Chair, thank you. Just a quick question about the conditions that transportation mentioned. I know that you have made a change for variance number 9. You're okay with the rest of the conditions that is mentioned there?
We're going to destroy all the existing curb cuts, new curb cut, and everything they wrote there is fine. It's
All right,
normal,
so we can,
and it's expected, and we will abide by it.
Thank you.
The rest of the comment. You're welcome.
Any other questions? No? All right. Are we ready to move into committee then? Thank you. All right. Does anyone have any comments or a motion?
Through you, Madam Chair, if there are no other comments from my colleagues? No? Okay. So I'm ready to forward a motion. I think they changed the elimination of variance number 4. It was something that applicant did, so I think it's made the application better, and then of course compliance with the transportation recommendation, that is something that makes the application more ideal as well. So I'm in support of the application as amended, the elimination of variance number 4, and modifying variance number 9 to 4.57. Also, I think based on that, I think this application is good and satisfy the 4 test. I'd like to add the conditions from the transportation report as well.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a seconder? Ms. Sankar is seconding the motion. Thank you. All those in favor? So we have 4 in favor and all opposed. Mr. Allison's opposed. So that application is approved. Thank you. Moving on to number 9, 6 ROLPH Road. This is an application for a 2-story addition. Oh, sorry. Did you hear? Your application's approved. As amended. Did he leave? All right, sorry. Moving on to item number 9, 6 ROLPH Road. We have an application here for a rear 2-story addition. We have variances to the south side yard setback to a platform, roof eave projection, south side yard, and a parking space in the front yard. On file, we have a survey, plans, site plan, site photos, and a Metrolinx report. Do we have the applicant with us? Mr. Schultz? Go ahead, Mr. Schultz. Hello? Mr. Schultz? You've been unmuted. Can you hear us?
So, Madam Chair, it would appear Mr. Schultz is logged in via WebEx, but also has phoned in. So he's unmuted within WebEx. However, his phone cannot be unmuted if it is his phone number, which it appears to be.
All right, so are we suggesting that he disconnect his phone possibly and come on through WebEx? Or vice versa? Hello?
Hello?
Mr. Schultz?
Hello there. Oh, great. Yes, speaking.
Thank you. Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Marv Schultz. The address is 6 ROLPH Road, Toronto.
Thank you. All right, so I'm not sure if you heard the introduction, but obviously you know what the application's about. We don't have anyone to speak to this application. Do we need a presentation committee? I'm seeing no. No presentation. Any questions for the applicant? No? All right.
If it's possible.
Yes,
if it's possible to change.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to ask. Do you have any changes to make to the application?
Yes, I would, if possible, like to change the setback on the deck from 0.85 meters to 0.7.
Sorry.
I don't even know if it's listed on here. Yes. Item 1.
Item 1, yeah. Unless you're making an improvement to the variance, we cannot accept a variance on the floor today. So you can't make it less.
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, thank you. We do not need a presentation unless there's something you want to bring to our attention. We'll go into committee to make a decision on your application.
No, I think I'm fine with that.
All right, hold on then. All right, let's go into committee members. Any comments? Motion? Sorry, Ms. Sankar, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I think that, given my review of this application, I do believe that it is minor. I don't see anything that stands out to me that's concerning that would be part of the 4 tests. So I'm going to put forward a motion to approve this application. I'm not sure why, the applicant had wanted to do anything differently for variance number 1, but that stands as is. And so I'll just approve the application as it stands. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have a seconder? Mr. Kipu? So all those in favor of approving? That's unanimous. This item's carried and your application has been approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to item 10, 29 LEACREST Road. It's an application for a new detached dwelling. We have variances for floor space index, east and west side yard setbacks, building length, building depth, building height, box window projection into east lot line, exterior stair projection into the east lot line, and parking space location for a corner lot. On file, we have a survey, original plans, a revised site plan, presentation material, arborist report, community planning staff report, Metrolinx memo, and 4 letters of support. Do we have the applicant here with us?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Mayor Manius, 1 Teakwood Grove, Toronto.
Thank you very much. And do you have any changes to make to the application today?
No, we don't, Madam Chair.
All right. And there doesn't appear to be anybody here. Do we need a presentation, anyone? No? All right. So there's nobody else here about the application, so we do not need a formal presentation unless there's something you want to bring to our attention. We'll go into committee to make a decision.
No, we have no objection with the planning recommended conditions, so we're fine with that.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's take it into committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the application is quite straightforward and then meet the test, and I would like to make a motion to approve it, subject to the conditions on the staff reports and condition 1 and 2 on the staff report.
Is that okay, staff? We don't need to read it out, or do you want us to read it out?
Yeah, if I can see it out. So conditions are the proposed minimum east and west side yard setback be developed substantially in accordance with the site plan drawing as attached, and then the proposed minimum building length be developed substantially in accordance with the site plan drawing as attached as well.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
I'm happy to second it. I also might add this is a very good application. I'm particularly happy to see the treatment of the side elevation and relationship to the some of the other immediate context. So it's a compliment for the applicant.
Thank you. All those in favor of this application? That's unanimous and carried. The application's been approved.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the
Thank
committee.
you. All right, item 11, 81 Randolph Road. Oh, this one. So this is two-story and second-story addition to the existing dwelling. We have variances for roof eave projection into south side yard, main pedestrian entrance height, floor space index, lot coverage, front yard setback, and north side yard setback. On file, we have a survey, plans, arborist report, and a tree protection plan. Okay, do we have the applicant with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Please state your name and address.
Nick Ciccone, 103 Glenlong Avenue in Toronto, Ontario, with a postal code M6B2M4.
Thank you. And do you have any changes to make to the application today?
Nope.
All right, thank you. We do have someone here to speak to this application, so if you could give us a brief presentation, please.
Madam Chair, I believe that is
Sure.
the homeowner, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, sorry, yes. Yes, I see that now. Thank you very much. All right, so there is nobody here. Do we want a presentation still? Okay, no presentation is required, but we do have a question for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to confirm, with respect to the existing basement slab, is it going to be maintained, or is the basement
Yes.
lowered?
Yes, no, the basement will not be lowered.
Okay, very good. And, okay, no further questions.
Anyone else with questions? No? All right, so unless there's anything else you want to bring to our attention, we'll take it into committee for a decision.
Nope.
All right, thank you. Okay, we are in committee now. Comments? Mr. Allison.
Thank you. The reason I asked about the basement slab is because I had, the only variance I had a little bit of concern with was the front door sill height. I didn't feel that the raised first floor elevation was consistent, or was, I guess, pushing consistency with some of the other buildings in the area. However, in this case, I do acknowledge we're dealing with an existing building. They're raising the door sill height to essentially make that existing basement just enough height, right? You're looking at like a 7 or 8 foot ceiling. So I think the difference in height on the door sill is, I think it is still fall within minor. So I think it's supportable. If there's no other comments, I'd be happy to bring a motion to approve the application without condition.
All right, thank you. Do we have a seconder? Mr. Kibu? All right, all those in favor? That is unanimous and carried, and your application's been approved.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Item number 12, 15 Wheatwood Street. This is an application for a new detached dwelling. And we have variances for lot coverage, driveway width, number of platforms, area of a platform, building length, building depth, number of stories, and building height. On file, we have a survey, plans, an arborist report, excuse me, a cover letter, community planning report, 5 letters of support, and an additional late letter of support. Do we have the applicant?
Yes, it's Noam Hazan of 14 Leswin Road.
Thank you. Do you have any changes to make to the application today?
There are conditions that we have a report from city staff, so we're accepting the conditions. That would be our, that's what we're accepting as this application.
So if we could just go to the public meeting notice and confirm, it's just we're tying it to site plan. That's okay. Sorry, no changes to the variances then.
Correct, yeah.
Thank you. All right, we have nobody here. Do we want a presentation? Brief presentation?
I just have a question about one of the variances. I don't know if maybe they want to speak to that, or...
Does everybody want anybody want a presentation? Anyone else? Ms. Sankar?
Just because I think there are just a couple of variances for which my colleague, maybe one of those were his, but I wanted to add that on. So maybe a brief presentation might help.
Sure. Mr. Hazen, can you provide a brief presentation for us today?
Sure, I'd be happy to. If you wouldn't mind just pulling up the presentation file that we sent, titled COA presentation. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, we can go to the next page. So that's the proposed rendering. So we do believe that the application does meet the criteria of the 4 minor variances. It seems that city staff have agreed with our assumption of this. Please proceed to the next page. We've received 6 letters of support, including both houses on either side of the property. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, please. So again, the first variance is regarding lot coverage. We are at 34.7%. We believe this is a minor, that has a minor impact on the site. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, please. The next variance is relating to the driveway. We have maintained the existing width of the driveway. There is, we do need to get into, it's a 2-car garage, so there is sort of like a bend at the nearer the house, but for the most part, it is only 5.5 meters wide. So it's just that small area where it is adjacent to the front entrance of the garage. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, please. So the third variance relates to the number of platforms. There is a discrepancy as what we've interpreted as platforms. So these are all terraces; they don't protrude beyond the envelope. So we do think they are relatively minor. It is important to note that the property does back onto a street, and there is no intrusion of privacy in the rear yard from these platforms. If you wouldn't mind again going to the next slide. Sorry, just if you don't mind just sliding up, I just want to see what the variance is that this relates to. I believe it's relating to the depth. And just to show that this area that's sort of having the biggest impact on variance is the nanny suite, which is below grade on the basement. It is included in the depth calculation, but really doesn't have any massing, or there's no visual significance from this nanny suite with regards to the structure from the exterior. But this is one of the variances that are triggered due to this inclusion of nanny suite. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. And again, same with building length. So it does appear to be a lot more than than what's allowed, that you can see below grade. The yellow line is the compliant zoning, and the green is the proposed design. In a front wall height, for example, we are lower than what is required, and we do think that these slight changes are significantly minor. Thank you. And just the next slide, please. Same again with the depth. I guess the previous one wasn't related to depth, but same comment again with depth. Again, it's all related to that extra nanny suite, it also doesn't extend the full length of the house, the full width of the house, sorry. It's just a small portion at the back corner, which sits under a patio. If you don't mind going to the next slide. And just kind of, being in line that we are proposing an attic in this plan. There are a lot of precedents in the neighborhood that have 3 stories. These photos are from the same street, so the massing and the height is all very in line with the nature and look and feel of the neighborhood. And you can see on one of those, on the photo with the neighbor, there is also a 3rd story as well on the same street. Next slide, please. And then height, we've got a very minor height. Again, lots of precedent in the neighborhood for exceeded height. And we've got only 4.5% over the height requirement. Again, the maximum, the front wall, the main wall, is lower than what is required by the zoning. Next slide, please. I think that's it. These are just precedents of similar properties in the neighborhood that have similar or other variances that have exceeded what we're proposing as well, just as a reference. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Go ahead, Mr. Allison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a follow-up question. If we could just bring up the rendering on the presentation submitted in the late material. There's a really nice perspective drawing, and I just wanted to ask the applicant, with respect to the driveway width. Actually, I'll wait. If staff can just pull that up. It's the first page of the presentation. There's a rendering that was submitted. I'm going to ask if the applicant in that rendering can tell me where the property line is on that in that rendering there, particularly on the side of the driveway.
Yeah, it's approximately where the bushes are. Where on the left-hand side of where the rear of the car is, where the low hedges are.
Right.
I would say that's approximately where. Again, this is the rendering is not 100% accurate based on the final design. It's sort of more for visual. But yeah, the driveway ends approximately just sort of where the rear of the car is, I would say. It's
Right.
hard to really tell from this
I
photo.
asked because on the site plan, and it relates to the variance for the driveway width, it looks like the driveway, the hardscaping goes all the way to the property line. It looks like the landscape buffer has been eliminated entirely. Am I wrong to make that assumption?
Sorry, let's go back to the site plan. Just want to see what you're referring to. Are you referring on the south side with the driveway going all the way to the property line? Is that what you're referring to?
Correct, yeah. So if the driveway is going all the way to the property line, where is that landscape buffer? Or is that the neighbor's property?
I think it's probably the neighbor's property. Again, the rendering is not a full accurate representation, and there are a line of trees on that side as well that would really kind of create that buffer. When looking at it from if you take a look at it on Google Maps, you'll see there is like some hedges on the neighbor's side. But yeah, again, the rendering is not fully representative of the final design.
Okay, so it is safe to assume that based off the site plan, the driveway width has a 0 meter setback to the property line there.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thanks for the clarification.
And then just to clarify, that is the existing driveway. We haven't changed or added anything to that width of driveway on that portion on the south side.
Okay, I should ask, is there any curb cuts being proposed at all?
Don't believe so. I don't believe so, no.
Okay. No further questions.
Any other questions from committee? No? All right, let's take this into committee to discuss. Thank you. Anyone want to start?
I'm happy to jump in.
Yes.
I think other members can tell. My only concern, it's a very good application, I should say. I'm in support of all the variances. The only variance that I do have a concern with is the driveway width, particularly in the fact that the hardscaping goes all the way to the property line. So I'm having a hard time understanding really what that extra hardscaping is facilitating in this point. And even in the rendering, right, it's not just the bushes, but, you can see that they've, put in some landscape lighting and all that. That would be on the neighbor's property. I generally had some concern with that hardscaping, particularly because it goes right to the property line. I don't think it's I don't think it really does anything in terms of the end result, but in terms of, I don't understand what the variance is really there to facilitate. If you have a walkway to the side, it's very easy to splay that right when you get to the house. So I'm supportive of the application, but I think the one variance for the driveway width, I'm not supportive of. I'm curious to see what my colleagues have to say.
In its entirety, or would you consider something less than that?
Well, it's one of the cases where the variance itself, I would agree, does meet the test of, from a quantitative standpoint is minor. But I think the impact in this case is undesirable just in the fact that it does bring that driveway, that hardscaping right up to the property line. It doesn't allow for that buffer. And I think in the applicant's submission, in the presentation, they showed a beautiful perspective rendering, right? You want that buffer along the driveway side to facilitate things if you want to put in landscape lighting or soft landscaping. So, they have that buffer. It's not like the garage is pushed all the way to the property line. They have that buffer there. So I just don't understand why you have to pull all the hardscaping over. If there's no right of way that it's facilitating, it doesn't do anything. So I don't think it quite meets the test of desirability for me.
And it's not great for stormwater management either, because there's no drainage, like it has to go onto the neighbor's lawn.
It has to go onto the neighbor's lawn unless it's sloped, and it just, you know, usually I'm a little more critical where hardscaping is proposed right to the property line in some cases. There has to be a really good reason for it. And in this case, there's no reason that the driveway can't splay to support that walkway off to the side if it needs, right when it gets to the house.
Should we have asked the applicant, though? Should we, if they're willing to change that? I don't know. I mean, just to refuse it. Up to you. Any other comments? I mean, I understand why they already have that driveway, and that's why they're trying to maintain it, but you're right, that would have been historic, and nobody really paid a lot of attention to that. And given that you're putting this investment into a new house, you'd think you would want to upgrade the landscaping, including some sort of border on the side of the driveway. It's odd to have it to the property line.
Yeah, and I think it was, it was not the intention of it, certainly. I think it was missed, but certainly when they went to the rendering stage, right, you're trying to put in all the good things in that rendering to show us that this is a good fit. And certainly the inclination was there to show that landscape buffer. It's sort of why I asked.
So, I don't know. I mean,
I'm inclined to put a motion forward to approve the application with the refusal of the one variance for the driveway width. I don't think it's doing anything, if my colleagues agree, but.
Okay. Anyone have any other comments? Ms. Sankar?
Yeah, I appreciate those comments, but I'm just of the mind that if there is a sort of an existing framework for that, and they're just sort of going on top of it, I just feel that the house has been completely nicely designed. And I think that, around the nanny room being the one to trigger a lot of these other, considerations, I just think it's been nicely designed. And I don't see anything that talks about the actual landscaping itself that makes me wonder, how that would, perform after it's been, it's all completed. I do know we have teams available to look at things like drainage issues, so that really doesn't come as a concern for me, because there's other experts to look at that. I'm of the opinion to approve this application as is, with respect to, just the comments from staff. It's a lovely design, and I think it was well managed.
Thank you very much. Mr. Allison?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick clarification. Looking at the site plan, it does look like the curb cut is going to have to be redone regardless. The current driveway is pretty narrow, if you look at it. And the applicants demonstrated on the site plan, they've hatched where that curb cut is. I think it's very much in line with what's there is existing. It does look like that 5.5 meters that is proposed would require a curb cut, certainly on the one side. So again, I just wanted to point that out as a matter of clarification.
All right. Perhaps, Ms. Sankar, you're willing to make a motion on this application? Or did you? Sorry.
Okay, if I make a motion, I don't know.
Sorry, did you make a motion?
About that?
I didn't. I don't want to step on any toes. I'm happy to make a motion, see where it goes.
Okay.
And if it fails, then maybe Ms. Sankar can put a motion forward.
Okay, fine.
I'll make a motion to approve the application in part, approving all of the variances with the exception of variance number 2, which relates to the proposed driveway width. Yes, to refuse variance number 2 for the proposed driveway width. I also note there's that condition in the community planning report that the related to variance number 5 and 6 for the building length and depth to develop substantially in accordance with the north and south side elevation drawings. And that is everything. I don't see anything from forestry, so
All right,
covers my motion.
thank you. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Anyone? No? All right, I believe that motion has failed.
Perhaps Ms. Sankar should have put a motion first. All right.
All right, do we have an alternate motion for this application? Ms. Sankar?
Yeah, sure. I'm thinking, in terms of looking at this and just all of the considerations that were sort of put into it, and knowing that there's a bit of a trigger with respect to the nanny's room, and also knowing that some of this has already been built on existing designs that have already been there. I'm willing to put forward a motion to approve this application as is, and I'll make it subject to the January 16th staff report, and that variances 5 and 6 related to the building length and depth be developed substantially in accordance with the north and south side elevation drawings submitted to committee. And that's my motion. Thank you.
And subject to the community planning. Oh, she did, okay. Sorry. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Mr. Kibu? All those in favor of this motion? Okay, so we have 4 in favor, all opposed. Mr. Allison, thank you. So that application carries, and your application has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Item 13, 41 LYNNHAVEN Road. We have revisions to a 3-story dwelling under construction. The variances are for height of building, number of stories, driveway width, and coverage. On file, we have previous decisions, survey, plans, presentation, support material, photos, and a transportation memo. Do we have the applicant?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. My name is Ozran Stambuk. I'm the applicant, and I'm at 15 Moreland Road.
Thank you very much. And do you have any changes to make to the application today?
No, Madam Chair, I don't.
Thank you. We don't have any residents here to speak to the application. Do we need a presentation? Okay. Does anyone else want a presentation? Yeah. Could you provide some comments on the transportation memo? I don't think we need a formal presentation.
Absolutely, Madam Chair. So I've read over the transportation memo, and so the issue is that first, I don't think we should defer the application based on their recommendations, and we can provide all the information they're asking for without a problem after the fact. But one of the key issues with what they're asking for is that actually the owner is going to try and move the hydrant that's going to be in front of their that's right now in front of their driveway, that's on the right of way. So if that hydrant is moved, actually we would provide a very different set of drawings if that application would ever be successful, and that's if we're even approved at this point. So that hence we want to let those things play out and see what kind of drawings we will be providing to transportation services. And of course, all curb cuts will be restored that are not being used, and new curb cuts will be made accordingly based on if that hydrant will be moved or not. But what we're requesting for on the property itself is going to remain the same, and that part transportation doesn't have issues with, and that's what we've brought before you today.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
I think my colleague is wondering whether or not some of the conditions that were raised by transportation can be dealt with after the fact, if our approval in any way is going to get in the way.
I mean, the only one is the driveway width, right? But obviously, they have to apply for curb cuts and all those things, so, and unless they're increasing the driveway width by moving the hydrant, yeah, I don't think it would affect it. Like, if we were to approve what's here, they're limited by that, and they have to deal with it. Yeah. So I don't think.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with the driveway width either. I mean, the garage door is a little bit high, but there's nothing really we can do about that. That's within their right. So does that satisfy your concern, Mr. Fazeli? Yeah.
All right, if there are no other questions for the applicant, are we ready to move into committee? Yes? All right, thank you. We'll move into committee unless there's anything else you want to point out to us, but I don't think we need a presentation.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Please go ahead with committee.
Thank you. All right, we're in committee. Comments, motion? Oh, sorry, Ms. Sankar? I have my microphone on, sorry.
All right, no problem. I don't really have an issue with this application. I just feel how we get through the transportation concerns, because I don't feel it should be deferred, but I do want to weigh heavily on transportation's expertise, that I would still subject it to their comments, point number 1, within the January 16 transportation report. And so if no one else has any other comments, I would make a motion to approve this, but I'll hold off on this, if there's anyone else has anything else to say.
So just to clarify, you're saying you'd make a motion to approve the application, but still subject to transportation services, the condition 1, is that correct?
That's right.
Thank you.
That's right.
Okay, do we have a seconder for this? Mr. Kibu?
Just a friendly.
Oh, sorry.
I do note there were some comments from environmental planning in an email. They had requested specifically bird friendly.
That's the next one.
Oh, thank you. Check my file.
That's okay.
I apologize, Madam Chair, and thank you for that correction.
All right, so just to clarify, this one only has the transportation memo, and Ms. Sankar has made it a condition to her motion, condition 1 of the transportation memo. Mr. Fazeli seconds that. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Your application has been approved. And we move on to, transportation condition 1. All right, we'll move on to 55 Aspenwood Drive. This is an application for a new 2-story dwelling. And we have variances for lot coverage, front yard setback to top of bank, west side yard setback. And on file, we have a survey, superseded plans, revised plans, an arborist report, site plan, a site plan with tree details, a community planning report, an environmental planning email, a TRCA report, 6 letters of support, and 1 letter of objection. Do we have the applicant?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. My name is Sia Zanjani from 15 Allstate Parkway, City of Markham. I'm the architect and the applicant for this. And yes, we are the bird-friendly house.
Okay, thank you. You were paying attention. Do you have any changes to make to the application today?
No changes. We do have a positive staff report. We do have a TRCA report that's in support of the application. The owner of the property has done a pretty good job canvassing the neighborhood. They could not reach a couple of neighbors, and I'm not aware of the opposition. To be honest with you, I'm aware of the support letters, but have not had a chance to look at the opposition yet. So
I think it was late. All right, thank you very much. Do we want a presentation on this? Anyone? No, okay. So do we have any questions for the applicant? Sure, go ahead.
Sure, just maybe check with the applicant with respect to the email from environmental planning concerning bird-friendly design. If there's any objection to that, or there's been any discussion with them about how to satisfy that request?
And I think it's covered in the community planning report.
It's already noted?
Yeah.
Okay. And they have no issue with those recommendations, I presume then?
Yeah, so we revised our drawings to actually reflect that. So the latest set of drawings on the rear wall actually do show the bird-friendly treatments as well as the dark sky requirements for the lighting. So that's already agreed upon, and we will be complying with those.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Any further questions for the applicant? No? All right. Unless there's something else you want to bring to our attention, we don't need a presentation. So we will take this into committee to make a decision on it. I guess so. So we'll go into committee. Anybody want to, Ms. Sankar, are you putting your hand up? Go ahead.
I thought I saw my colleague, Mr. Fazeli, putting his hand up, but if he's not, I can go for it.
You can go ahead.
Okay, so I don't have any issues with this application. I do believe it's quite minor. I do believe it meets the 4 tests. And in consideration of my colleague, Mr. Allison's comments about the bird considerations, I see that it is captured here in the staff report. So I'll put forward a motion to approve this application and make it subject to the January 9th 2025 staff recommendations. And I will say that's to, do I have to read that out, or can I just say points 1, part 1 and 2?
No, that's fine, they
Subject
said.
it
Yeah,
to
thank you.
that. Yeah,
Related to natural environment, yeah. Okay.
that's right.
Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. All those in favor? That is unanimous and carried. Your application has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that is our morning agenda completed. We will take a 1-hour break and we'll be back at 1:10 p.m. 2:10 p.m., sorry.